Hey, what's up everybody? We are back again with more possible scamming with a rapper that you may or may not have heard of before, going by the name of Lil Raven. Now, once upon a time, this name actually used to carry quite a bit of weight in the emo rap genre. If you didn't know, Lil Raven is supposedly cousins with Lil Tracy, although I'm not sure if they're actually blood cousins or not. They did mention in a No Jumper interview that they were cousins, but as we already know, Uno the Activist and Playboi Carti also claim that they were cousins. All three of the Migos claim that they're related by blood, but we later found out that Offset was never related to them at all. Lil Ominous and Lil Pump at one point claimed that they were actually cousins, but it turns out that they were only childhood friends, and then you got Lil Wop and Famous Dex who might actually be blood cousins. But my main point in saying all that is rappers often lie about that type of thing, but either way, they're definitely closely related, and of course, like I mentioned before, Lil Raven even got on the No Jumper podcast back in the day. On top of that, the guy also has music videos on Trash AMV, Astari, Elevator, all of the big three, as well as having that priorly mentioned interview on No Jumper, as well as having a feature from Lil Peep. It even has this cool kind of unofficial animated music video for it, which I believe came out after Lil Peep passed away, but either way, it's a super good song and I listened to it quite a bit. So yeah, the guy has some pretty good connections, pretty good views on a lot of his old videos, and of course, being posted on all three of those big channels is definitely a pretty big flex. But that does kind of bring me back to the point that I made in my Stephen Moses video, where if you're going to get posted on all three of the big channels, you either have some pretty deep connections or some pretty deep pockets with a lot of money to throw around to get on those channels. Now, it's possible that he got all those connections through Lil Tracy, but you got to remember that back in 2017, Lil Tracy wasn't the rapper that he is nowadays. I mean, he was pretty big in an underground sense, but even back then, the underground wasn't that big. So my theory is that maybe he got connected through his family. If he actually is cousins with Lil Tracy, you got to remember that Lil Tracy's parents are both musicians, so maybe they were able to make a couple calls and get Lil Raven into a better position, as well as Tracy himself. But all of that is really speculation. It's possible that he happened to be at the right place at the right time to get these connects, but either way, Lil Raven was a really big deal, but nowadays, not so much. If you check out his most recent song on YouTube, he's actually pulling less than 1,000 views, as well as his SoundCloud not really doing a whole lot better, with the most recent song on there actually having a feature from Coldheart, but still being at less than 2,000 views. So Lil Raven is definitely fallen off harder than any other rapper that I've ever talked about. So it's really not all that surprising to find out that the guy might be scamming nowadays. I mean, the money is definitely dried up and he's probably falling on hard times if he hasn't managed to find himself a real job at this point, which might be a little bit difficult because he definitely has a couple pretty noticeable face tattoos. You can see the band-aid up there as well as the eagle. I think it's pretty cool, but probably not the best when finding employment. Although I'm going to be honest with you, initially I didn't know if Lil Raven was actually scamming or not, because the guy who hit me up had only talked about getting a feature from him about a month ago, which didn't really seem like enough time to pass by to really call it a scam. So I told him wait a little bit longer and see if maybe he pays up, but enough time went by that it definitely does seem shady at this point. Although I'm not going to outright call it a scam, I'm really going to leave it up for the audience to make their own choice, but I am going to read out the messages right here, so let me know what you think in the comments below and let's get right into it. So this conversation starts off in September 2024, like I said, pretty recent, and for a little bit of context so you really understand what's going on here, apparently the two of them got to know each other through a mutual that they both know in Florida. So if you're wondering who Lefty is, apparently that's a tattoo artist that the two of them know, and that's how they initially got connected and how the conversation started off. Lil Raven comes right out of the gate with the sales pitch saying, "I got a feature deal for $250, bro. Lefty told me you want to work, let me know. Let me get some increments and find a beat. End of month and on PO. Okay." He says, "I'm gonna find a Johnny Cinco type beat. I'm gonna lease the beat tomorrow, send $100 to you, and then after you send me the stem files, I'll send the other 150, or are you gonna mix it?" So right off the bat, the guy's being pretty smart by only giving him $100 up front and then giving the other $150 after he gets the full song back. If you're not sure what a stem file is, it's basically a file that has all the pieces of the song in one that you can edit. So instead of just getting the beat or just getting the vocals, you have everything all in one, so you can mix, master, engineer, and do everything you need to do to make sure the song sounds how you want it to sound. Also, I'm not gonna lie, $250 for a Lil Raven feature when the guy can't even pull 1,000 views on SoundCloud definitely doesn't seem like the best idea, but either way, I guess maybe the name will do a little bit for you within Florida. I don't know, man. I'm thinking for that amount of money, you definitely could have got a better feature for a lot more prominent of a rapper, but with all the scamming going on in the underground scene, he probably thought that since he knew a guy who actually knew Lil Raven, it'd be a little bit more professional, and there's there's absolutely no way that a guy that you actually know in real life would run off with your money, right? Right? Well, let's continue on. He says, okay, bro, if you want to do a price for the homies, I got you today, but later on, you got to talk to my management. I'm signing a new deal. I can mix. Yes. I mean, dude, you're really signing a new deal? Is there any label in the world that's going to want to sign you with numbers as bad as yours? I really don't understand how certain people find labels. I mean, maybe it's off the name value. He definitely has some songs from back in the day that have good numbers that maybe they think they can make a little bit of profit off of, but I really can't see him signing anything all that big. I mean, we already know that Mako and 83 Hades basically ended up selling their entire catalogs for around $20,000, so that's pretty well all I could see Lil Raven doing as well, although maybe he does have slightly bigger songs than them. But either way, I think he's capping, because it turns out that the man himself, Jumix, actually recently sold one of his old Instagram accounts to somebody using the exact same excuse, saying, hey, I'm going to sign a deal soon, so if you want to get on this deal, you got to get on it now. The conversation continues on with him saying, okay, he says, I can do that for you if you want to do half first. I'm waiting for Swag to stop though, then I got you. You good, bro, just hit me up. Pimping and pandering. Now, I'm not really sure what he's talking about with Swag stopping here. I'm assuming Swag is probably a person that he's buying a beat off of, or maybe it's a metaphor for something else, but either way, I'm not entirely sure. And it seems like he caught Lil Raven's attention by saying that, because he responds by saying, where you from and how do you know Cray? He goes on to say, I don't know Black Cray, I just know about music in general. I'm very particular when it comes to mixing my shit with presets. Recently had FL Studio, working with a homeboy that's younger than me who works at Top Sound Studios. Kinda burnt bridges with him back in the day. I record all my shit with a USB mic, no preamp or interface or some ghetto shit. I talked to Archibald Slim on IG and he gave me tips. He says, okay, for sure, bet bro, we locked in. Archie cool as hell and he gives me good feedback. Very good ear for music and beats. I'm like the skinny white Rick Ross, just not an ex-parole officer, on God. After that, he goes on to send a couple beats saying, I'm gonna lease one of these tomorrow. You decide which one you want to pick. They then go on to discuss the payment. He says you got Zelle or Cash App brother, and I like the beat. He goes on to say something in Spanish, send me your at. Then he goes on to say something else in Spanish. Lil Raven goes on to send his Cash App. He responds by saying sent. So at this point, Lil Raven has officially received the $100, and now we gotta see if he's actually gonna deliver on the song that he promised. I mean, the beat's already picked out, everything seems to be going pretty smoothly, so I don't think it's too out of the question to expect that Lil Raven might be able to deliver that feature in about 1 to 2 days or 1 to 2 weeks at most. He says, bet, I got that. Are you gonna record your part first, then send it to me? He says, pimping, pandering, yes sir. Bet, just let me know, then keep me updated for show. After that, he goes on to record his verse and then responds a couple hours later saying, send stems by the end of the night, got verse and hook written. He says, let's go, sounds good. That entire conversation all took place over the course of 1 day. It's now the very next day, and he says, what's your email? What's your email? He says, my bad, I thought I sent it. He then goes on to send his email. He responds by saying, sent that Papi Chulo, and I sent the rest of the dinero as well. Now, I'm not really certain why he decided to send the other $150 before he got the stems back. It seemed like he had a good idea at first by sending $100 and then waiting for him to get it back before sending the rest of the money, but I guess he might have just been excited, and with everything going so well, he decided to send everything all at once. So at this point, Lil Raven now has the full $250. The very next day, he says keep me posted, but doesn't get a response for a couple hours. He says yo, but then he doesn't get a response for another hour and a half, and it seems like the guy is very unhappy about not getting a response right away. So he goes on to say, where you from, my friend? Your communication is lacking. That bread gonna have to come back in rotation sometime or another, or your ass gonna be tricking for it on some hustle and flow type shit. I'ma fuck you up like Ludacris. I'm really about my politics. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie, pretty aggressive for not getting a response for 1 day. I would say you should probably wait about a week's time before you really start to get upset, but after all, he did send the guy a whole $250, so I would probably be a little bit freaked out if I wasn't getting a response as well. He says, I'm in Long Beach, bro, chill. He said, should have told me that. I could have put that bread somewhere else. What are you talking about, bro? I'm working on the song. I was clearing it with my label. He goes on to say, get right or get left. Feel like I'm tricking on a pussy, got no music. And I mean, damn dude, this guy really does not mess around whatsoever. He sent you the money, he wants his stuff back the very same day, and if you're not on it, he's gonna be on your ass. And I'm not gonna lie, I really fuck with the energy because I feel like I've seen way too many people be super passive after they've already got ripped off, waiting weeks and weeks, sometimes months and months, or even years and years to get their feature back without ever saying anything. The next time an underground rapper tries to rip somebody off, I really think we need to get this guy involved. He can show up, get the money back overnight, and everything will be good. Although I'm not gonna lie, if he tries to go after 83 Hades, that probably wouldn't be the best. Not because 83 Hades is gonna beat him up, but because if this guy tried to beat up 83 Hades, he might get a little bit too turned on and then want to steal more money so he can get beat up again. Also, just want to mention that's a joke. I seen recently that in my Jumix video, after talking about 83 Hades, somebody actually went to 83 himself and he thought I was being serious about him beating up Jumix. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that I was making a joke that 83 is gay, but apparently I really got to spell it out because people really are that stupid. But either way, 83, never change. I love you, buddy. Keep doing a good job. Keep doing that fentanyl and keep it up.
Wow. 83 Hades. Great moves. Keep it up. Proud of you.
He goes on to say, rather trade dope. He says, first off, I got you, bro. Second off, you tripping. It's been one day. I didn't know you wanted it back immediately. So I ain't got to worry about compensation. Say less though. I got you because you got me right. He goes on to say, I ain't in the music industry yet, but I know when a motherfucker is playing with my money. I've been in shady studios with fucked up engineers. He says, you gotta chill, bro. I said, I got you. I'll send that to you ASAP. You gotta fuck with it too, though. My bad for not replying, bro. I had to open up for an event. He says, I'm gonna give you a hard ass verse. I feel bad now. I ain't mean to make you feel like that, brother. Trying to make it out the field, that's all, my friend. I hear you, gang. My bad again. The very next day, Lil Raven goes on to say, bro, you got me banned on Cash App for sending money and putting pimping and pandering. What the fuck, lol. I mean, I'm not sure if that's actually true or not, but if the guy actually ended up doing that and it got his Cash App frozen, it makes sense why he can't deliver the song right away. But either way, it's pretty funny. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie, every time that I get money in the near future, I need people to put pimping and pandering. Every time I get my pay stub, I need pimping and pandering. I love pimping and pandering. It's the new future. It's the new way of the world. We all got to get on it. He goes on to respond by saying, how? I don't know. They banned me. Maybe it's another reason. They tripping. That's crazy. Were you able to get the cash out or no? Yeah, I got it out. For sure. That's a relief. Ha ha ha. That's funny for real. My bad though. Ha ha. I mean, that's definitely pretty shitty that he ended up getting his Cash App frozen, but at least he was able to get the money out, so there really shouldn't be any further issues with him delivering on the feature, and everything should go very smoothly from this point on. He says, you good, gang? I should get it back. He responds the next day by saying, I'm gonna send you a track tonight, show you what I sound like. He says, which one you want me on, and then he goes on to send a track the very next day. He says, let me know what you think, and he responds, that ho hella, and then I can't really read what it says because it ends up cutting off right there. But there's really only two things that he could mean. He's either saying that the song is fire, that maybe the girl on the cover is pretty hot, but either way, he doesn't respond again until October when the other guy says, how we looking on that? He then goes on to say, we'll soon be in touch, which definitely comes across like he might be threatening him, but he responds by saying, yo, I just got that contract dealt with so I can send it now. I dropped a little single too, so go fuck with it. I ain't forget about you. We still locked in. Let me know, fam. He goes on to say, do you need that by a specific time? I can try to get it to you by then. He says, did you finish the track or nah? If you finished it, then send it for show. Just want to have reassurance you ain't bullshitting with my money. Just like this work, gotta know shit's lined up properly. Helps with the money rotation. He goes on to say, I'm not bullshitting. I recorded some of it, but I ain't finished my verse though, or the mixing. I told you about the contract shit, right? I'll send it tonight. I'm not gonna lie, for such a small artist, I really don't know what he's talking about with contracts and labels. I mean, it should be pretty easy to get a verse done in about 13 days, and after that, he never ends up sending it. He doesn't even send it that night. 10 days later, he responds by saying, keep that track cause you need that bread more than me. I'll catch up to you sooner or later. Jive, turkey. If that's a fucking racial thing, I'm really sorry. I don't really know what turkey means. I'm not sure if it's gang lingo or he's trying to say a slur, but either way, if it is, I didn't mean it. I'm sorry. He then finishes off by saying, it's a very small world. Make sure you bring a coat. Next time you stepping out, shit gets cold out there real fast, nephew. And then after that, he ends up sending a track, which Lil Raven does so happen to see, which means he's totally aware that the guy ended up responding. He's aware that he still owes the guy a song, but he never ends up responding again or sending anything. So yeah, man, there's not really much more you can say. Lil Raven definitely ran off with the bag. He definitely definitely scammed the guy. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, well, he was being pretty aggressive through the entire transaction, so Lil Raven had a right to run away. But I mean, whether or not the guy's being a dick to you doesn't give you the right to run off with his money. I mean, if the guy was really being too aggressive to him, he could have sent it back, said, you know what, I don't want to do the song with you after all, take your money back. But if you're running off with the bag, then you're running off with the bag. There's really no way to excuse that, no reason that you should do it. And even if Lil Raven ends up paying this guy back or giving him a feature after this video comes out, it's not going to make it right. Because I definitely noticed a trend recently that after I put out a video on a rapper that happens to be a scammer, they all of a sudden grow a heart and give the person their money back, which I mean is definitely a good thing. I'm happy that the rappers are giving people their money back, but then after that, they immediately run to me and say, you got to take the video down. I made everything right. There's no reason for the video to stay up anymore. But I mean, it's pretty obvious that the guys are trying to play damage control. I'm happy that you made it right, but you definitely would have never gave that guy his money back if it wasn't for the video coming out and causing a problem for you. This happened recently with Wi-Fi's funeral. He actually ended up calling me out on his story, which I did respect. He said he didn't have a problem, but he wanted me to correct it because he did end up giving the guy his money back and it was apparently a misunderstanding. But your manager also reached out to me and told me to take the video down, so it's pretty clear that your main goal was to get away from criticism and not to actually make anything right. So honestly, good job Wi-Fi, but at the same time, do better. And with all that said, let me know what you think about Lil Raven in the comments below. Leave some knife emojis. Shout out to Knife Gang, Knife Gang, 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 gang. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to 21K, maybe even 30K by the end of next year. Who knows? My ego is truly inflating by the day. I'm getting more and more cocky. I can't be stopped. I'm the king. I'm the god. And everybody needs to take me seriously. Knife Gang, twist their world. Peace out.